Greetings, metalheads, and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George, and today I'm back with a collection update exclusively containing black metal CDs. And an interesting little mix of stuff that I've got here. I'm going to kick things off with a band that I've talked about quite a bit recently. Well, a few of these bands, in fact, I've talked about quite a lot in recent times and have featured in other collection updates where I've been trying to complete the discographies of these respective bands. But the band we're going to start off with is one of the pioneering Norwegian second wave black metal bands, in particular the symphonic black metal sound. We're talking Emperor, who I've recently done the album ranking of, and you could argue that was a little bit of a cheat, given that there's only 4 full-length albums in Emperor's discography. That said, it was actually really quite challenging because they're quite evenly matched, those albums. I think, although there's only 4, they are 4 very good albums. But what I had been hearing a fair bit about is this album, the Live Inferno album, which is actually in this format, and I think there are different versions of it. In this format, this contains 2 discs, 2 CDs of 2 separate full live shows. In fact, if I remind myself, I know that we have on disc 1, we've got the Inferno Festival in Oslo, Norway, April 2006. And then on the second disc, we've actually got the full set from Wacken, Open Air, Germany, August 2006. So this is after the reunion. So this is after Emperor had come back from being disbanded, and they were touring again. You know, we've had no new material, new albums since then, but they'd come back and they were doing these festivals. And to be honest, Emperor are still doing it. They seem to be cropping up on lineups every year. So that's fine. Hopefully one day I'll get my chance to see them. But I've been hearing a lot about these recordings on the Live Inferno album. And you know what? With good reason. Because these are 2 really, really solid live albums, I have to say. Emperor, I think one of the things that really set them apart from a lot of their peers is the fact that they are really good musicians. No discredit to any of the other bands. You know, there's a lot of great musicians in bands, not just Norwegian black metal bands or Norwegian bands, but across the second wave black metal scene. You do have some really good, talented musicians and talented vocalists. But I think Emperor, certainly Ishan, he's up there. You know, that guy's clearly quite a creative genius. And as I mentioned, Ishan on guitars and vocals, alongside Samoth on guitars, really good guitarist. We had Trim on drums. We've got Seath Demon on bass backing vocals as session there, and Einar on keyboards and backing vocals session there. I'm not really sure to what extent on which recordings. Just see our little line up there within the booklet. And the other quite important thing to note is that this live recording, you know, these are 2 full shows. The sound quality is really good, and they are full sets. So you've got a real career-spanning stuff, and both sets. I mean, the Inferno Festival set is 15 tracks long, and then the second Wacken is 12 tracks. They are career-spanning, excellent live sets. Really good, just full of classics. Heavily drawn from the first 3 albums. Both albums actually only include 1 track from Prometheus, which is In the Wordless Chamber, which is incredible. But that real career-spanning stuff, brilliant, full of classics. There's an interesting Infinity Burning medley, which kicks off the Inferno set, which is great. It just totally transforms wherever you are. It really takes you to that kind of magical, out there, cosmic environment. It's freaking great. Cosmic Keys to My Creations and Times, Thus Spake the Night Spirit. We do get some brilliant tracks from the third album as well, from Equilibrium. So we've got like Curse You All Men, which is just brilliant. Other brilliant tracks, we've got the Loss and Curse of Reverence, Inno Asatana, I Am the Black Wizards, start to finish. I mean, there's not a dud track here. There's no ridiculous, elongated, bloated versions of anything at all, really. And the second live set is essentially the same, just a few tracks less, but both really good. A firm reminder that Emperor, and certainly for me anyway, those first 3 albums, and I know it's the same for a lot of metalheads, a lot of black metal fans and Emperor fans, those first 3 albums are pretty defining, top-notch symphonic black metal. It doesn't get too much better than that in terms of symphonic black metal, but love it. And if you're interested in hearing more about Emperor, or me rambling more about Emperor, then of course you can check out the album ranking. But I would say if you want to get a good career spanning picture of Emperor, Live Inferno is a really good recording to go for. So up next, we have a very interesting special release for the 30th anniversary of the debut self-titled EP. Dark Funeral, Swedish black metal masters, absolutely freaking brilliant band, have revisited their legendary 4-track EP. They have, and this is not the first time it's been revisited by any means, but they have revisited it. They have given it a little touch up, and they've also re-recorded it as well. So it says here on the little sticker on the front, 30th anniversary edition of Swedish black metal pioneers' legendary first release, featuring exclusive historical material and 4 sinister re-recordings of the original tracks. I think that's a pretty fair description. So sadly, I didn't actually get hold of this, despite the fact that I freaking love Dark Funeral. Absolutely love them. Recently talked about Dark Funeral as a band you need to hear. Yes, they're a little bit less obscure or lesser known than some of the other bands I've talked about. Yeah, they might be a big band. I think that's fair to say. But actually, they are a band that I would recommend to anyone. They are a freaking brilliant band. But this material, it did reappear as a slightly different format. We had some extra tracks, some covers and things like that on the In the Sign EP. So that was a reissue a few years later. But different cover, as I say, more tracks there. But these 4 tracks, really, I think it's fair to say they are legendary tracks. They really are. It's not by any means my favourite tracks or my favourite release from Dark Funeral, because Dark Funeral have not that many studio albums really in the grand scheme of things, but all of their albums are really good, really strong albums. But tracks like Open the Gates, that is masterful, absolutely masterful. So this was 1994. Second wave black metal had been a thing. It'd been around, a growing scene for a number of years by this point. You know, we can fairly reasonably say sort of 3 to 4 years. Well, 4 years, give or take. But these still fresh and frosty, absolutely brilliant. What I think set Dark Funeral apart from a lot of the contemporary bands was that they weren't afraid to sound good. So they weren't afraid to be good musicians with good quality recordings. You know, we had Dan Swano on board, the legendary at that time. You know, they weren't afraid to sound good. And a lot of the other bands, you know, primarily from that in the initial second wave black metal movement, kind of desired a more raw and thin sound, a little bit more of a muffled, dull tone. Dark Funeral, it sounds massive, it sounds big, even here, sounds brilliant. Open the Gates, Shadows over Transylvania, My Dark Desires, and In the Sign of the Horns. Cannot argue, indisputable classics, absolute benchmark tracks. And then what we have is the re-recorded versions, which obviously re-recorded with the current lineup, sound great. They haven't messed around with the formula or anything like that. It's the current lineup, but it sounds really good. It's like breathing fresh life, fresh breath into these classic tracks. If you're not familiar with Dark Funeral, I would say you definitely need to check it out. Definitely need to check out Dark Funeral, the EP, these tracks here, because this will get you hooked. As I say, didn't get it at the time of release earlier on in 2024 because it was way too expensive. Black Friday came along, and I believe it's still a bit more reasonably priced now. I think I picked it up and it was about £8 or £9. So that was a little bit better than what it was at £15 plus or something stupid that it was. So Dark Funeral 30th anniversary EP. Then we have another prime example of something that was way too expensive for way too long and then just plummeted. We have the most recent full-length album. I believe this was 2023. This is Memento Mori from Marduk, another Swedish black metal band, another legendary band. They are one of the most extreme, I would say these two, Dark Funeral and Marduk, are two of the most extreme black metal bands in terms of relentless aggression and it's pummeling stuff. You know, it's a prime example of how the Swedish scene is quite considerably different, although not too dissimilar, from the Norwegian scene. Fair to say. But this most recent Marduk album, I think, is brilliant. It was very expensive for a long time. I actually have, but I picked up the copy initially, same year of release, on tape. So it was a Darkness Shall Rise Productions cassette tape version. You know, sounds great, even though it's on analog, good old tape format. But I wanted to have the CD copy, and I finally picked up this nice media book version. I wanted to have the CD copy as well because it's great to be able to listen to it on different formats, of course, but also I have all of the other Marduk albums on CD as well, so I wanted to complete the CD discography there. And this really is a great album. It really is. You know, they've stepped away from the little bit more risky kind of aesthetics and lyrical content, subject matter. A lot of stuff. You know, Frontline, Victoria. You know, about the Second World War. Fine. I think that's great. I thoroughly enjoy that kind of period in history, learning about it and hearing about it. I find it very interesting. It's a very interesting period in human history. But, you know, it's quite good for other themes to be explored as well. And the theme with Memento Mori is all about death. We've got some cracking tracks here. The title track and Heart of the Funeral, Blood of the Funeral, Shovel Beat Scepter, Charlatan, Coffin Carol. It's start to finish. This is a really, really strong album. Marduk are no strangers to producing brilliant material and brilliant black metal, but I think Memento Mori is a really strong album. It's one of the strongest for a little while, in my humble opinion. I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it's a cracking album. The whole band is really solid. I think that the lineup here is pretty good. I know there's a bit more controversy that has surrounded Marduk in the last few years as well, but it's great. In fact, have we got the lineup here somewhere? Yeah, so guitarist Morgan is the kind of like founding member. He's been there the whole time. We've got Daniel Roston on vocals. He is a great vocalist. He sounds like a demon. He's a beast possessed, that man. Absolutely fantastic. And on drums, we've got Simon Schilling. And yeah, fantastic drummer. It's the blasts. It's the blasting drums. Freaking love it. All round, really strong album. Another great album from Marduk. Definitely one to check out. So we're stepping away from Scandinavia for the next one. We're going with a US black metal band. And a band that I have all the other albums of theirs, and they've got quite a few actually. All of the other albums I have on tape. But this one, from Inquisition, Black Mass for a Mass Grave, for some reason can't seem to get hold of a copy all that easily on any format. It's quite expensive. Certainly I haven't seen it available on tape. But I did see this in the recent Black Friday sales on whatever it was, whichever site. And Black Mass for a Mass Grave is a really good album. It is actually quite a long album. It's quite considerably over an hour. But this is seriously cosmic, spiritual, out there black metal. It's properly ritualistic stuff. It's cosmic. It takes you there. Still a duo. We've got Dagon on vocals and guitars as well, and then we have Incubus on pagan war drums. And I have to say that is an interesting shot of the duo there. I think that's the first time I've seen a black metal musician posing with a pistol rather than a sword or an axe or something. So, yeah, interesting choice. Really good stuff. I mean, it's stunning. I love Inquisition. I think they're a great band. I love how spiritual and encompassing and atmospheric their music is. It's stunning, and this is no exception. With tracks like Spirit of the Black Star, Luciferian Rays, Necromancy Through a Buried Cosmos, Triumphant Cosmic Death. All these different references to cosmology and all that good stuff. Yeah, it's fitting. I won't go through every single track because, to be honest, the whole album flows really well. It's pretty seamless. Some of the tracks are quite long, 7+ minutes long, 6 or 7 minutes and change, but it's great. It's a real immersive experience. It's the kind of black metal where ideally you'd like to be situated at night, on a frosty night, under a clear sky, gazing up at the stars, having a lengthy swig on a tall ale or something like that. Anyway, something to warm your bones. It's freaking good stuff. I really enjoy Inquisition. So I've got Black Mass for a Mass Grave. Excellent album. Would 100% recommend that for any black metal fan or anyone that just fancies a really immersive kind of spiritual metal experience. So then lastly, we are going back to Norway. And this band I've been steadily getting more and more into over the last couple of years. Been aware of them for a long time and I've talked about them quite a lot on the channel. But Tsjuder are another example of a seriously savage black metal band. This is I believe it's the third album. Don't hold me to that. This is Desert Northern Hell. I think this was, I always get my numerals the wrong way around. So 2004. This is a really good album. I think it's an interesting album because it does sound notably more aggressive, more akin to the Dark Funerals and the Marduks than the first two albums. The first two albums are great, but I think that at times those albums sound a little bit, or should we just say a little bit less extreme. But I think this is a really extreme album. This is a really heavy one, but it's a great album. It's a real bruiser. And I stumbled upon this. It was a second-hand copy. I think I paid £6 for it. It was online, and I've never seen a copy of it available anywhere else. So it's been a gap in my Tsjuder discography for a while. As soon as I saw it, snapped it up. But some belters on here. In particular, I love the opening couple of tracks there. Malignant Coronation and Ghoul. Got Possessed, Lord of Swords, Helveta, Mouth of Madness, Unholy Paragon, Sacrifice, and Morbid Lust. The last track is quite a long track. I believe it's in excess of sort of 10 minutes. Heavy freaking stuff. This is just constant blasting, constant shrieking vocals, constant raw sandpaper riffs. Freaking good stuff though. It's a real black metal assault, blistering stuff. Freaking brilliant. Absolutely love it. Still getting myself familiar with it, to be honest. I've listened to it probably about 4 or 5 times now. Love it though. It's really good. And I'd recommend Tsjuder to any black metal fan, anyone that's a fan of relentless pummeling metal. It's freaking brilliant. And sticking with Tsjuder then, the last article that I've got is actually, it's been sitting on my shelf. You probably, if you're a follower of the channel, you've probably seen it perched on my shelf for a little while. Every time I do a collection update, I keep forgetting to talk about this. So this was 2015, the first full length for a little while. There was a little bit of a gap there, and I always mispronounce this, but I think it's Antiliv or Antiliv, not really sure. This is a box set version that I picked up online on eBay. It's secondhand, pre-owned, but there's not a mark on it, and it was about £12 or £13, I think. This lovely box set. It's a good old Season of Mists Records box set. It says here collector's edition, including Antiliv on CD with 5 bonus tracks, deluxe digipack, 24-page booklet, giant flag, and patch, all exclusive to the box set. Again, this is a furious album. This is a really, really heavy album, but it is really good. It is a little bit more reminiscent of Marduk and Dark Funeral, in my opinion. It's a savage album, but it is really good. In particular, there are a couple of absolute gems, such as, I think is it Cracker, the second track. We've got Chaos, Norge. We've got Demonic Supremacy. Freaking great. Even the kind of rehearsal bonus tracks and bits and pieces, they're really good. Brilliant stuff. Great cover. As I say, we've got a cool patch in here, which is very eye-catching. I think I'm going to keep it rather than try and shove it on my jacket. And then we've got this, which is very cool, actually. Very, very cool. Open up this flag. I've got no shortage of flags. Got loads of them in different box sets and different bits and pieces. But this one's really cool. Probably going to have to use this as a backdrop. It's the sort of Norwegian flag, but incorporated. We've got the Antiliv logo and the band's rather awesome logo as well. Very, very cool. Very eye-catching. A really nice piece to have. A really good album. I'd certainly recommend both of these for anyone that likes relentless, caustic black metal. So, there we have. There we have my black metal collection update. Just to remind, we've got the Live Inferno double live albums from Norwegian symphonic black metal founders Emperor. We have the 30th anniversary edition of Dark Funeral's debut EP, which is excellent, I have to say. I absolutely love that material. So obviously I've got this version here. I also have a CD copy of In the Signs, and I have that on tape as well. I do love Dark Funeral. Then we've got Marduk with Memento Mori, lovely media book version there. Got Inquisition, Black Mass for a Mass Grave, Cosmic Spiritual Black Metal. Then we've got Tsjuder with Desert Northern Hell. Awesome stuff. And lastly, we had that box set version of Antiliv, which is an excellent album, I have to say. Really great musicianship, shrieking vocals, the drumming is fantastic. All round, it's a black metal whirlwind. So, my friends, what are your thoughts and opinions on these albums, on these bands? Are you a fan of these releases? Any other opinions? Interested to hear thoughts and opinions of others, as always. Thank you very much for watching this humble collection update. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Please do feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. The support is very much appreciated, as always. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations. But until next time, do take care of yourselves, my friends, and stay heavy.